Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast. I am one of your hosts, MrBooMStickXL, and with me, as always, my brother from another mother, my friend from across the pond, the Welsh gamer. Welcome, dude.
What's happening, Mr. Boomstick XL? Buzzing to be here, dude. You always say, right? Well, I say you always say this last couple of weeks, you've been like, "Oh, news has been a bit tight. It might not be this, it might not be that topics," but you've smashed it out the park again, Boom. You got me excited. I've got my notes. I'm ready to rock and roll. The chat is already booming. Rumble Foreskin with his very questionable picture. He's already in the live chat. I love it. Let's do this shit. Let's do it.
Yeah, listen, when we're putting these shows together, sometimes it's easy. Sometimes you just literally wake up and you click on your Google website and you just start picking stories. You write your script and you go. The last couple of weeks have been a little challenging, and actually I enjoy it in a way because I get to write my own stuff without having to read someone else's article. And we're going to open the show with something. I know the Welsh gamer is very, very like chomping at the bit to talk about it. Xbox Game Pass versus Netflix. Since Crackdown 3 came out last Friday, there are a lot of YouTubers. There's a lot of talk on social media, and we're not going to go into the actual reviews of Crackdown 3 because that's going to be a whole other show, which we're going to be doing on Saturday. But I wanted to talk about Xbox Game Pass in particular. You see, with this particular industry, a lot of the circles that we run in, most people have different opinions on Xbox Game Pass, and both the Welsh gamer and I are huge supporters of it. Guys like So Shady thinks it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and he's right. And there are several others who of circles that we don't run in who have used the word crutch or an excuse for poor games or some of the other things I've heard that it's not really meant for the hardcore Xbox fan. It's more for the people just buying an Xbox. And I'm here to tell you that those comparisons are completely wrong. As of this podcast, Xbox Game Pass has had one of the most successful game services launches in the history of gaming. No one ever talks about that, Welsh. There's nothing like it. Some people like me call it, and I'll say it like I said it with Shady, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's the biggest bang for your buck. It's the most value you can get for $10 a month. And again, I'll say it, and you've heard me say this on the show before, if you're a savvy business type person and you trying to save a buck or two, you wait for these sales where they have 6 months for $30 and then you go to town, which is exactly what I did. I'm paid up on almost until the end of 2020 because you know what? Why should you spend $10 a month when you can spend $5? Now, Drew, you and I are going to break down why the future of gaming as we know it is going to be changed thanks to Game Pass. And I want to just talk to you about how we both feel the gaming media and a good chunk of the community have really unfairly judged what Game Pass is as opposed to versus Netflix. You know what? Let me just, and before I get you to your opinion on it, let me just kind of let the folks that are listening know. Here's a brief history of Netflix, if you're unfamiliar with this company. First of all, it was founded on August 29th of 1997. That's how long Netflix has been around. So it's a total of 22 years. In those 22 years, I mean, of course, there's been big changes to the company in the form of how they deliver the media. First, it was CDs, then it was Blu-rays. Now, pretty much, it's just streaming digitally. So let's talk for a second. As of January 2019, Netflix had over 139 million paid subscriptions worldwide, including nearly 60 million in the US alone. That's ridiculous. Okay, so now let's talk about Game Pass because everyone says, well, let's compare oranges to oranges. Netflix has 22 years under its belt. Well, as of June of 2019, Xbox Game Pass is only going to have 2 years under its belt. And in those 2 years, what they have been able to do is crazy. Okay? They advertise, Welsh, that you get you get 100 games for $10 a month. As of this show, there was 230 plus games in Xbox Game Pass. Where do you find that value? And I understand some, like for instance, let's just look back at, from 2018 to forward, what they've put in there. Okay, Sea of Thieves may not be your game. We were talking pregame. It happens to be very popular. People are still loving that game. State of Decay 2 may not be your bag because you don't like item management, but it's still, I thought it was a fantastic game. It's a game I put 60 hours into. Forza Horizon 4. Well, what could you say? It's racing game of the year in everyone's circles, no doubt about it. And Crackdown 3, look, I don't care what you say about the game. It's phenomenal. I put a ton of hours into it. I beat it over the weekend. I can't stop playing it. And I'm going to get into Wrecking Zone once that's fixed with when you can add friends. But I want to get your opinion on this. Why do you feel that all of the pressure that goes on to Xbox Game Pass, as opposed to, when they compare, because Phil Spencer himself compared it. He said that Xbox Game Pass is the Netflix of gaming. They don't even have 2 years under their belt, and Netflix had 22 years to get it right. Why is there so much of an unfair judgment?
Well, I'll say this much. When it comes to like YouTube content creators and the media, unfairly judging it and critiquing it and saying this and saying that I have an easy answer for that, Boom, straight away, and it's simple. People, and now I'm saying people in general, it's very true. There might be a fair amount in the chat that disagree with me, and that's because it doesn't apply to them, but that still doesn't mean it isn't true. There is a lot of people in this world that simply dislike or are afraid of something that is new and innovative. Not to mention if something is successful. Because if something is successful, the natural human instinctive response to that is people want to see it fail. It's a psychological inevitability with us human beings. It's a true shame. It's like British heavyweight boxer Anthony Joshua. I don't know if you know who that is, Boom. But
No.
He was in the Olympics, won the Olympics. He's now currently heavyweight champion, undefeated, all these things. And he's about to go up against Big Baby, something. I can't remember his actual name. But his rise to fame, to where he is now, he was literally chanted, tapped on the back. Everyone in the UK absolutely loved him. America loved him, all this stuff. But now, because he's untouchable and he's undefeated, people want to see him lose now.
Yeah.
There's it's like a bit of a stigma that's going around sports. But it's the same principle though. It's just something that's good and it's growing and it's getting popularity. People naturally want to see it brought to its knees. It's a weird psychological thing. With regards to being given a time frame close to Netflix and stuff, I don't see why there should even be a time frame. I love the fact that it's being compared to Netflix. Believe me, Boom. When people say Xbox Game Pass is the Netflix of gaming, I think that is probably one of the most accurate statements going. But for people to directly compare it to Netflix is incredibly insane, because that you can't really put a time frame. You've just said it there. Netflix has got years and years and years under its belt, whereas Xbox Game Pass is still relatively new, still in its infancy. And there's no time frame when it comes to a service. Services are a continued thing that will change, that it'll grow, it'll adapt as we grow through the ages, because technology changes. And so, Netflix 20 years ago might have been a subscription website online where they send you a DVD in the mail and you watch it and then you send it back like Blockbuster used to do. But nowadays it's a streaming service because it's adapted and grown with the times. That's just how it is. And let's be fair, when it comes to Netflix or Game Pass or any of these big services, it doesn't happen overnight. And Netflix, when you compare it now to its initial release, is night and day. It's literally night and day. When you compare the amount of original content that would have dropped in the first few months to a year of Netflix to now, when you've got like Stranger Things and
Yes.
Haunted Hill House and all these Netflix original movies and stuff. It's ridiculous. And the same can be said for Xbox Game Pass. Boom.
Yeah,
It's gonna just grow and grow, and 5 to 10 years from now, people will look back and be like, God, remember when Xbox Game Pass only had Crackdown and a few other games? Now it's got
right.
this. Like, that's literally like that's hindsight for you. That is the growth of a service. It's amazing. But like, people should hang their hats on the fact that Game Pass is literally the Netflix of gaming and can only get better.
Yeah, I want to continue on this point because I have something I want to talk about when you said original content, but I have to say a ridiculous big thank you to Butcher Van. My goodness, man. Thank you so much. The $25 super chat. He says, games, 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 so many to play, gamers win. And yes, all I've been doing is playing games. I beat Crackdown this week. I'm on my way. I'm like 80% done with Metro. I'm going to move on to Anthem next, and I'm going to try and sneak in Far Cry. I just don't, even being retired, I don't have all the time. But, you know, comparing Netflix to Xbox Game Pass is very easy when you don't add the numbers, Welsh. You know, obviously we said Netflix has been in service for 22 years. But you know what? Here's the interesting part, because I did a lot of research on this particular topic because I thought it was important. I actually got a little, I don't want to say upset. I guess a little tired of hearing that one compared to the other and that one is failing. It wasn't until February 1st, 2013. Think about that for a second. They came out in 97 and they waited all the way till as February 1st, 2013. And that is when the original content started with pushing, getting the original stuff. How many years removed from inception to 2013? I mean, I'm no mathematician, but it's a significant amount of time. It shocks me that people, will look at the games in Game Pass and be like, well, there are no AAA bangers in there. Well, if you're a Microsoft fan, you bet your ass there are plenty of them in there. Maybe Halo 5 wasn't, game of the year for me, but it might be for someone else. Maybe Gears of War 4, maybe not, listen, the amount of incredible first-party titles in there are second to none, and they're getting some real strong third-party. Look what they just got. Tomb Raider. Come on, Welsh. I mean, am I talking crazy?
You literally just took the words out of my mouth. Like, people seem to like gravitate so heavily on just Xbox's first party showing. Like, we can sit here all day and say that we completely agree that it needed help in that department, and they dropped the acquisitions, and that just plays into what I was saying about Game Pass can only get bigger, better, and more like Netflix as years progress, because more of these original games, like from Ninja Theory and Initiative and all these other companies, when they drop, it'll just increase the value of Xbox Game Pass. But as of right here, right now, you've got a fair selection of original content from Xbox. State of Decay 2, just as one example, is my game of the year last year. I think just that game alone is worth your time. But on top of that, and like I said, people seem to gravitate heavily just towards the first party. You've got lots and lots and lots of third party showing as well. You've got the Fallout games. You've recently had all 3 of the Tomb Raiders drop, including the newest one, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which I hear is an absolute sensation. You've got Crackdown 3, which dropped, which is obviously a first party, but still it's new. Like, it's never ending. There's constantly something being dropped in there, and you're not paying a single penny extra than you were paying the day before. It is still the same service. It's getting to a point, Boom, where you don't even notice until you actually like go on and you look down the list. You're like, oh, that wasn't there before, blah, 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 blah. It's like on Netflix, like I keep saying, you'll go on Netflix, movie, and it's like, oh, there's a new movie on here. Like, it just, things are dropping all the time. That's just the thing with these services, and Game Pass is no exception. It's amazing. It can only get better. I've said it before. I don't want to repeat myself in terms of original content, but as time progresses, you will see Game Pass, if we are going to compare it to Netflix, be more and more like Netflix as years progress, because it'll gain more first party original content, and you'll have your Xbox Game Pass originals, which would be the equivalent to the Netflix originals.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? Before I get to the point, I have to say a huge thank you to Gotham Guy for the outstanding $20 super chat. And he actually says a really good point. And I want to read it, and I want to elaborate on it for a second. He says, not to bring up the Xbox media bias conspiracy yet again, but no one was looking for PlayStation Now service to fail when it launched, even though there wasn't value in what you were getting. Sony still didn't get any bashing. Now, look, I have to respond to that because, look, I'm going to say this. I don't start ringing the bell for conspiracy, but I have to agree with Gotham Guy, not because he gave, he donated $20, because the truth is the truth. Okay, what happened when Crackdown 3 came out? It was like a gasoline, a pool of fire all over the place. Every site. Look, I'm going to say this right now. I mean, I don't think anyone is sitting in the corner like a bad guy going like this with their hands saying, how are we going to screw Xbox? But you see, there's a difference in journalism in 2019 than there was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, people like the EGM and, Republic, Gamers Republic, and I think it was Next Gen. If you remember those magazines, when actually we read stuff on print, and because I'm the old guy, I did that, right? They actually used to play a game and review the game, and you didn't hear any unnecessary like now when you read a review, it's the person's opinion on the game, and if they don't like Xbox, which a lot of people don't, I'm sorry, it's just the way it is, it comes through their review. And if you don't think that is still relevant in 2019 and it's happening, then maybe you're not looking through the same rose-colored glasses that I have on. The media bias does exist, Drew.
Unfortunately, Boom, like, it's a very touchy subject because not to be disrespectful, but because we're nobodies, we're just part of the ranks. We're mindless ex-botians. If we point the finger and call that out for what it is, if we're just being honest, but we can't say that because we're just blind Xbots. But we just call it out for what it is and say, like, that's a little bit sketchy, that's a bit biased. Like, our comments go overlooked, and it's just we're considered tin-foil hat-wearing morons trying to hack into ham radio with our minds. But the truth of the matter is, mate, like, it doesn't take a genius to work it out. It's it's like a slap in the face. It's so friggin' obvious. It's painful. I mean, I know we're going to talk about this in a bit more detail regarding Mike Ibarra and stuff like that. But it is true, Boom. Like, you can't avoid it. It is there. People who pretend it isn't are either biased themselves, naive, or just absolutely blind and moronic. Because I don't care. I've been called a tinfoil hat wearing person for a lot, because I call it as I see it and I pull no punches. But the fact of the matter is, it is there. It is there. And I'm not an idiot. I'm not blind to the fact that it was there last generation as well. But in reverse, like, PS3 was always getting the flack, and Xbox 360 was always having its ego stroked.
Yeah, man, that's the truth. Yes,
it is true.
Yeah, it is true.
But I'm not talking. But, like, that's the thing. Like, we can sit around a table and circle jerk and talk about what happened 20 years ago, or we can live in the right here, right now, and talk about what's happening today. And that's what we're talking about. Like, the bias is here now, and it is, I can argue, worse than it ever was in the previous gen, pretty much because of how big these sites and how accessible internet is now with smartphones and Twitter and social media. It's so much more intense now that Xbox getting the level of flack it gets on a daily basis is crazy.
Yeah, it's frustrating as fans, for sure.
No, exactly. But just, in a nutshell, Boom, you're not crazy, mate. It's there. It ain't going anywhere anytime soon. I think the only chance Xbox has of catching a break is if they start next generation with a huge bang and everyone's just like, whoa, like, whoa, and it's just like, okay, wicked, like, and start on a massive positive, triumphant note, and hopefully it stays on that note for the rest of the gen then. But this gen has well and truly been stained with the cries of children.
Yeah, no, it's the truth. I do have one other question I kind of want to pose to you, and I want to pose to the chat as well, and then we'll move on to the next topic because we do have a lot to talk about. My thing is this with Xbox Game Pass, before citing it a failure or that unless they do this, it's not going to work, shouldn't Microsoft be given the chance to allow the newly purchased developers a chance to add to Game Pass? I mean, like, people think, what shocks me about the way certain things go in this industry, Microsoft for their, they're in a position where they are now because of of shortcomings that happened with other people in charge. Okay, the only reason the company is relevant right now in 2019 is because of people like who? Phil Spencer. I'm not saying that he's the only one that toes the line, but let's call a spade a spade. The guy is a gamer. Not only besides being an incredible human being, he loves video games. He tells stories of when he used to play with his daughter when she was a baby, and how it bonded them as a father and a daughter. He really gets personal and he opens up. That's why we have Crackdown 3, because by all rights, it should have just been canceled. There was so much trouble. It should have been canceled. He literally saved it. I'm not saying single-handedly because he didn't do the development, but his words is what saved that game. So he obviously believes in Game Pass. He obviously made moves. What we seen, what happened at E3 2018? He made all of these moves. Then in game at XO 18, he added 2 more studios. So people, and I'm not saying the people in the chat, because the people in the chat are here. They want to hear me say this. These games, the AAA bangers, they're coming, and they're going to be in Game Pass. Gears of War 5, Game Pass. Ori and the Will of the Wisp, Game Pass. Battletoads, Game Pass. All right, we don't know what Playground Games, but whatever it is, Game Pass. The new game that Rare's working on, Game Pass. Anything the Coalition is working outside of Gears, Game Pass. So, I mean, folks, we just have to take a step back. These games aren't made in 18 months. Sometimes it takes 3 years. Sometimes it takes 4. But once the ball gets rolling, once all of these studios are cranking out titles, you're going to have, and we talked about it a couple of shows ago, where Microsoft wants 4 AAA titles per year. It's going to happen. So my question really simply to you, Drew, is why aren't people giving Microsoft a chance to just get the ball rolling? Why are they calling for the head of Xbox Game Pass?
Simply because it's I want to say because it's gaming, and gaming is always under some kind of microscope compared to other forms of entertainment. Like, I never remember Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu or any of these other services getting raked over the coals for lack of content, or we want more content, or where's the originals at, blah, blah, blah. But because it's gaming. But that's the thing, that's false. Like, the bottom line is, the reason it hasn't been given a lot of time frame and people are like poking holes in it left and right is because of the fact that it is Xbox and it's Microsoft. And back to my original point, it's new and it's innovative and it's different, and people are afraid of new things. And it boils down to the simple fact that people are too quick to judge, I think. It hasn't been given the same amount of time. Nowhere near. I mean, if people went back in time and just looked at what Netflix was when it first came out, it diabolical, really. like honestly, like diabolical compared to what you have now. If they released Netflix today, I think people would be for one hell of a shock compared to what it is today. But Xbox Game Pass is it's an incredible service, and you said it then. You referenced the topic we talked about the other week as well regarding Phil Spencer's vision is for there to be at the minimum of one AAA game, or should I say one first-party game,
right,
from Xbox per quarter.
That's huge, dude. That's huge.
But this is the thing, though, Boom. What name? And I urge anyone in the chat, and this is going to be a great question. This will definitely sieve out the trolls that are coming to troll, or the people who are genuinely gamers and look into it like me and you do. But here's an honest question. I want an honest answer, chat. And please tell me if I'm wrong or bullshitting. But name one thing that Phil has put in place since he took over things back in like 2000, whenever, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Name one thing he has brought to the forefront and put in place that he hasn't seen through.
Nothing, dude. Not one.
Exactly.
Not one.
So if Phil Spencer, maybe if it was anyone else, I'd be scratching my head and going, good one, mate. But but Phil Spencer has said, eventually, when this plan comes into full fruition, he didn't say a time or a date, but I'm assuming he means next gen. But when he says, when this long-term plan that has been in the works for years now comes into full fruition, you will have one game from us per quarter every year, guaranteed. Not to mention, it goes without saying, those games will drop day and date on Game Pass, aka the Netflix of gaming, aka no other system has that on their system. It's just an Xbox feature. I'm listening and I'm going, Phil, in him we trust, because everything he says happens. Everything he says happens.
I mean, look, not only are you right, not only are you absolutely 1000% correct, I don't think there's even a way to challenge it. I mean, just look at what Phil Spencer did. He comes in, he says, okay, we need to fix the hardware. It's a problem. And what does he do? He unveils the S, and then in the same breath says, okay, next year you're getting the X. Okay. He does it. Hardware problem fixed, most powerful console. Shits on everything else. Every third-party game plays better. End of story. No questions asked. First party takes full advantage of the hardware. Then there's no challenging. What does he say about games? That was the next services he wanted to do, because we need to make Xbox Live better, and they've been doing revisions since he stepped in. Services. What does he do? You know what? He's a big fan of backwards compatibility. He gets it done. It's the unsung hero of the Xbox community. He loves the OG Xbox, played with his daughter, told us stories, right? Told plenty of stories when he was interviewed. What did he do? He gets OG Xbox to be backwards compatible. Think about this for a second. He goes out of his way, and obviously he didn't do the development. Like I said, there are people behind him that are working for Microsoft that got this done. But he pushed the envelope, and now you have on the Xbox One 3 generations of games. Ridiculous. Then what does he do? We have a games problem. He admits that they have a first-party problem. He's aware of it. We're all aware of it. He's heard it. He's read the tweets. I'm sure he gets horrible emails all the time from people, right? What does he do? He says, we're going to fix it, and he buys all these studios, and they're still not done it. From what I hear, and this I have no confirmation, my sources are very small, but they're anywhere between 2 and 3 new studios that are going to be announced this year. And 2 of them are going to be a shock, from what I understand. So think about that.
No doubt in my mind. But everything you're saying, Boom, is bang on the money, son.
I mean, there is no arguing the point. It is what it is. He's done everything he said he's going to do. So, like I said, for the people who have been pissing on Xbox Game Pass, you know what? Take a step back. Enjoy the 230 plus games for $10 a month, where you can't get anywhere else, and all of the big bangers you're going to get. You just have to wait for them to be cooked. You're not going to eat cookie dough half baked in the oven, right? So let the games be made. Let them, if it takes 3 years for whatever Playground's working on, so be it. If it takes 4 years for the initiative, when the initiative releases their title, it's going to be the best thing since sliced bread, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Playground games, they're working on something. Rare's working on something. In Exile's working on something. Ninja Theory's working on something. I mean, the Obsidian's working on something. I mean, folks, it is going to be. Look, right now, it's a little bit shady, and I understand that, because everybody wants things. They want them now. I've been gaming since 1978, so I've been through every trend. But I'm going to tell you this right now. This is a fantastic time for two things. One, to be an Xbox fan, because all you're going to see is bright sun from now on. That's number one. And number two, if you're just coming into the platform, I say welcome with open arms. Get Game Pass. You will not be sorry you did it. That's the end of the story. But I have to say two big shout outs. First of all, Rumble Foreskin, who had to go, dropped a $2 super chat. And of course, he's a big supporter of the channel. I cannot thank him enough for this. And Creeper, my God, man, thank you so much. That is outrageous. He drops a $25 super chat and he says Game Pass was inevitable. It was the only next logical step in gaming technology. The future is bright. Yes, sir, you were absolutely correct. So now what I want to do is I saw some people talking about it and I want to segue into it. Game Pass, who we were just talking about, how it's garbage and it doesn't have anything for anybody, just dropped some information from Major Nelson that 4 new titles are going into Game Pass, and I have all the dates. And first of all, we knew about the Arkham Collection, which is coming. Now, if you haven't played Rocksteady's masterpieces, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, it's fixed, because now not only are you getting the 2 games that are probably the best superhero games in the history of gaming, but they're Xbox One X enhanced, and they look ridiculous on the X. You also have now this is a smaller game. I've seen it. It looks a little strange. I'm gonna try it. It's called Headlander. Apparently it's a human being in a spacesuit, but all that flies around is their head. I don't know why. It's strange, but it's definitely something I might want to play. Alien Isolation. Come on. First of all, that's a big title, and I want you to know this is not no 6-hour romp. Alien Isolation is a 20-hour game. It's long, it's big, and it's scary as shit. So if you like the Alien franchise, guess what? Those are going to be for you. All 3 of those are being dropped on February 21st, which I believe is today, because I get my days correct, mixed up. And on the 28th, you're getting The Walking Dead Season 2. And Season 1 just dropped. So you're getting both seasons. And listen, whether you like Telltale or not, those are incredible stories. Drew, how awesome is Game Pass continuing to be?
These deals are steals, son. Honest to God, it's just with every passing week. How many times have we done this, Boom? Like, we don't get paid for it. We should. We should get commission. But literally, we honestly, literally, I'd say at least once every 2 weeks minimum. Like something like this drops, and it just makes me personally, because I am a subscriber of Xbox Game Pass, and just to know that, like, because these aren't just run-the-mill bloody shitty, like half-baked bloody, like, indie crappy games. These are all very good games, like, bar the exception of Headlander. I don't know what the hell that is, but
it looks a little strange, but I'd be willing to download it and give it a shot. I mean, it's in Game Pass.
That's the beauty of Game Pass, Boom. Yes, download it, have a whirl if it's your bag, keep it on. If it's not, delete that shit. but literally, Batman Return to Arkham. I mean, I haven't played any of the Arkham games. Shame on me. So I look very much forward to playing that. It's the same with the Tomb Raider things. Like, I never played the Tomb Raider games.
I just want you to know, I just emailed you your pink slip from the show, sir. Just want you to know that. So,
you're paying me off, you. right, guys in the chat, it's been a hell of a ride. I think we made it to 25 weeks until Welsh Gamer got sacked. So, cheers, guys. It was lovely to meet you all. But no, these are good games, man. Good games, and it goes into what we were saying before about, like, it's not just the first party. Like, Boom, do me a favor quickly. It won't take you long, but point it out. Is any one of those 4, like, or should I say 3 out of 4 pretty massive games, well-known games? Any of those first-party games from Xbox? Like, I don't see one. No.
But you know what? But here's the thing, dude. The one thing that's amazing about Game Pass is like for you take a guy like me, like, thanks to Mooch, I buy everything. I actually don't buy everything. I buy all the big AAA stuff. Some of the smaller titles they fall by the wayside because unfortunately I don't have 6-figure salary. But I am going to say this. I have played a number of games in Game Pass that I would have never played. For instance, Human Fall Flat. I actually got every achievement except for one in that game. I absolutely was addicted to it. I could not stop playing it. Now I think you can play with 4 players, which is ridiculous. There was a game that was like a movie game that took place in London. I cannot think of the name of it. Night Watchman or something like that. Damn, I got 1,000 out of 1,000 achievements in that game. I played it twice. I saw it. I'm like, I'm like, nah, I don't know if I'm gonna like that. And I played it, and my God, what a fantastic game! I mean, it was like remember back in the day, the Sega CD where with Sewer Shark. It was obviously much better quality, but it was like playing a movie, and all the choices you made were serious, and some had dire consequences. And I absolutely loved the game, but would have never played it. Look, we can talk about Game Pass all day. If you have nothing else, we have to move on because we do have a lot to talk about.
Well, all I want to say, I just want to elaborate on my point that all those big hitter games like Walking Dead Season 2, Alien, Batman, like I said, I can't really comment on Headlander, but at least 3 of those 4 games are really big titles, like big third-party titles. And they're dropping into Xbox Game Pass. Like we were saying before, it's not just first party. There is a shit ton of choice. And on that list, the one that pops out for me the most is The Walking Dead. If you haven't, anyone in the chat, you haven't played Telltale's The Walking Dead games, oh my God, you are missing out on some of the most heart-wrenching, like immersive, compelling stories imaginable. Like it is just a masterpiece, The Walking Dead by Telltale. Absolutely phenomenal. But anyway, that's all I got for you. Carry on, Boom. I'm ready to move on.
Got to give a big shout out to Jesse Darby. It was called Late Shift. And if you haven't played it, I'm telling you, play the game. It is phenomenal. It is so much fun. Like I said, I played through it twice to get every achievement. That's how good the story was. The character was engrossing. The story was engrossing. Look, again, it just shows you that just because you're a diehard gamer, you don't play everything. And obviously people, the one thing that you talk about when as a diehard gamer is backlogs, right? Everyone has huge backlogs. Maybe Welsh, you're a perfect example. You didn't get a chance to play the Tomb Raider series. Okay, now you're going to play it. You didn't get a chance to play the Arkham series. I guarantee you, when you see the Arkham series running on your X, you're going to be like, how did I miss this? But you know what? I say good on you that you missed it, because now it has the X enhancements and looks even more phenomenal.
That was my plan all along.
Yeah. Yes. Maybe it was excellent. But you know what? Let's move on to the next topic. And this one is going to be a little bit. It might sour some people. But a report from a website called Nintendo Insider says that they have a trusted source that Microsoft's dead platform exclusive Scalebound has been resurrected for the Nintendo Switch as an exclusive. Now, I've been doing a lot of digging on this, and I got some real information. I know there were some people saying you can't; it's a rumor. But what I found, man, I don't think it is a rumor, folks. I think that this is pretty much confirmed. But I'm going to break down because, like I said, I would not do this story unless I actually had the numbers and the information to back it up, because I don't do clickbait shit. You come here to this show to listen to me in Welsh. We give it to you raw, and we give it to you good. So check this out. We all know that on the 9th of January in 2017, Microsoft confirmed that after careful deliberation, it had come to the decision to end production for Scalebound. And obviously, it was another yet high-profile Xbox One exclusive that, along with Fable Legends, was canceled. A lot of people were disappointed. Listen, I'm going to say this right now. The minute I saw that video, I was like, I'm all in. Take my money right now. Get a collector's edition. Let's get that dragon on the statue. I'm taking it. Fortunately, it never came to fruition. Okay, so we know what happened from there. Now, this is where... this is where it's...
I'm not gonna lie, Boom. You scared me then. You went silent for like 3 whole seconds.
Yeah, you know what it is? There's a lot to unpack here, so I'm trying to just break it down. Okay, you know what? Let me just get into what I found. First of all, there's a particular website called Justia, Justia. And basically what that does is it gives all the information for particular trademarks. and copyrights for for games, for movies, for books, for TV. And the serial number for Scalebound was 864-58061. So that doesn't really mean anything to anyone. That's just a serial number. The word mark, of course, was Scalebound. And this is where it gets interesting. The status is a code 606. And what 606 stand for is abandoned, no statement of use no statement of use filed. Now, why is that important? Well, here's where we run into the problem, okay? Microsoft tried to renew the Scalebound license so no one else can use it. But unfortunately, they were denied the renewal because they could not they did not turn in the paperwork or give a reason why they wanted to keep the name Scalebound. So when that happened, it just became dormant, and it gave Platinum Games an opportunity to snatch it up, which they did, and Nintendo was very interested in this game. Now, here's a little bit of tidbit that a lot of people don't know. Scalebound was originally announced on the Wii, and Microsoft swept in and took it with Platinum Games as an exclusive. So this was originally going to be a Nintendo title. Well, apparently, it's going back to the Nintendo Switch as an exclusive. And and why that's you say, well, it's a Switch, it can't handle it. Well, yeah, it kind of can. I don't know whether you're aware of it, but Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2 are massive games on the Switch. Now, again, they're not Gears of War graphics, but they're big games and they play extremely well. Well, that's what they're comparing Scalebound 2. Now, it's not going to probably look what we saw in that demo at E3. It's going to be scaled down, no pun intended. But at the same time, it's still going to be coming out as a Nintendo Switch exclusive. So now my question to you and for the chat, okay, is this a blunder for Microsoft? Because, there was a lot of controversy with this game. Again, of the fake outrage and the fake, Xbox fans were like, I was going to buy an Xbox for the Scalebound, and now it's ruined.
I remember those.
You remember
people.
that nonsense?
If those same people don't go out and buy a Switch, I'm calling hypocrisy.
So that's actually that would have been the next question. Are these people going to buy a Switch? But more importantly, like I said, this is. I like being positive on this show. This is a big story. I had to report on it. I think that if Microsoft wasn't going to use the Scalebound license, it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you, because they have a lot on their plate already, and we know what's coming out. But it does raise the question: is this kind of like egg on the face of Microsoft look? I don't care if they just keep renewing it and don't use it. Allowing another company, allowing Platinum to get the license back, and now and Nintendo showing interest. If it does in fact happen and it releases on the Switch, I don't know. I mean, what are your takes on it? Is it a bad scene for the Xbox brand?
Right. The question is this a blunder for Microsoft? No. To be honest, right, I've seen a few people in the chat saying, is this fake news? Is this a rumor? Has it been debunked? Everyone in the chat, just calm down. Stop thinking for a second. Stop sweating. Let's enjoy this topic, because rumor, fact or false, it's a conversation. It's a good conversation. And assuming this is right for a second, Boom, assuming that this is complete fact and this is actually happening, would this be a blunder to Microsoft? I got this to say: absolutely nothing wrong with this. It really doesn't look bad on Microsoft at all, as they did in fact they sunk more than enough money, time, and resources into that. Honestly, they gave that title a fair shake. They sank loads of time and resources into that title way back when, and Platinum Games were not keeping their end of the bargain. I've said this since it was cancelled. It's a shame, don't get me wrong, but how anybody could hold Xbox and the team accountable for the actions of Playground Games, or more accurately, the lack of actions by Playground Games, is truly beyond me. The fact the IP is lost, from the Xbox brand, is a shame. As myself and a lot of people, I'm sure yourself included, were excited to a point in time or another to see it hit Xbox. But the fact it isn't is not Xbox's fault in the slightest. Like, end of the day, I've said it before and I'll say it again, and I just said it now. Xbox gave that game a fair shake.
They spent a lot of money, Welsh.
They spent a lot of money. Like, that's what happens when a game's pitched and you invest, and like that, they would have put a lot of money into that game. And while they were waiting on certain deadlines to be met and certain portfolios, certain stages of the game's development to be, oh, sorry, someone corrected me. I keep saying Playground games. I mean Platinum games. Sorry.
Platinum, yeah.
But yeah, but when, when Phil and team were waiting for Platinum to pop up or an email like, oh, come check out where we're at on development, none of that. They were using that money that Microsoft was giving them to buy Ubers, buy pizzas, and they were just, and it came out closer to the time that they were using the money that Microsoft had given them for other projects they were working on, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and certain other projects, if I'm not mistaken. So to say, is this a blunder for Microsoft? God, if anyone does think it's on Microsoft, then you're sadly mistaken. The reason Scalebound hasn't hit the shelves yet, already, I should say, because obviously if it does go to Nintendo, there's a chance it could happen again. But the reason you haven't seen Scalebound already is because of Platinum Games' incompetence. Simple as that.
Yeah, well, you know what? I just read something. I'm sorry with the pause. DJ Singh says Scalebound coming to the Switch is as much possible as Trump making the Mexico wall and making them pay for it. Listen, I don't know if it's going to happen. I thought it was interesting. Me personally, I'm right there with you in regards to agreeing. Yeah, sure. I guess if you look at it, the short way to look at it is that, yeah, this was supposed to be a Microsoft exclusive and it looks terrible. But at the same time, Microsoft had to abandon. They spent millions and millions of dollars on this game, and Platinum, which surprisingly enough failed. I mean, usually when Platinum touches something, it's usually fantastic. I mean, I don't know what happened, but I guess no one was paying attention, and they kind of just were doing, they worked on a lot of games at once. Scalebound's a type of game in size and scope that should have been all Platinum was working on, but they weren't. They're working on several titles, and the job didn't get done. And now Microsoft's like, why should we pay to renew the license? And really, they wanted to renew it so no one could use it, but they were denied. They were denied because they didn't have a proper use of terms. What are you using the license for? Because maybe Platinum was challenging them on that. I did not find that information, but there's only so much public information you can get. But you know what? Let's ramp this up and go positive again. And move on to the next topic. And if you've been following this show for a while, you know that we as gamers, there are certain people on Twitter that you look towards that are considered inside people. And Clobriel strikes again, and this time he's bringing numbers to back up his claims. And if by some chance you're unfamiliar with his Twitter handle @Clobriel, he's what I like to consider like a legitimate Xbox insider. He says he's not, but he just has too much information, Welsh. I mean, there's just we've done numerous stories on the information that he's put out there, and a good portion is they've come true. So let's talk about this for a second. I'm going to say this. There are certain people in the Twitter community that I really enjoy getting notifications for. Because obviously I'm a huge fan of their work. And more importantly, they do help me put the show together. The Xbox Factor, you got to have Xbox News, and he definitely has it. Well, look, let me just say this. Ladies and gentlemen, Clobriel has tweeted some numbers and stats that are going to give everyone a clear look into how Microsoft is looking not only to have all of their first-party studios running on all cylinders, but to have the best games for the best platform moving forward into the next generation. Now, according to Clobriel, here are the few updates on growth for Microsoft's first party. Now, get ready, folks, because this is good. LinkedIn now lists 240 people at Rare. Their offices are getting really full. Still lots of open positions too. Second project, okay, full steam ahead. Actually, get this, It's the third project since they're helping on Battletoads. That in itself could be a topic, okay? Undead Lab lists 70 people. They're opening a lot of positions currently. Seems like they're aiming to become a circa 100 staff studio. So they're looking to hire 30 other people. Ninja Theory has grown quite a bit since the acquisition, too, now listing 140 employees compared to the circa 110 back in June. Still, many positions opened as well. Obsidian now lists 187 employees with lots of open positions, still clearing ahead to make their staff and hit the number of 200 plus employees for that studio. In Exile so far is about the same. They are searching for new people, though. We know they want to grow healthy and raise the employees by 20% by the end of 2019. And this is where it gets a little interesting. Now, again, take it with a grain of salt. 343, Playground Games, and the Coalition and Turn 10 are all searching for lots of people. So those are, in my opinion, the biggest studios Microsoft has, and they're looking to staff up. Folks, listen, this is a great time to be an Xbox fan, because the games, when they start coming, it's going to be it's not going to stop. Compulsion Games lists 7 more employees. They're a smaller growth. But they started doing a wider search because they want to double their employees, and that's interesting. And the Initiative, well, I mean, what could we say about the Initiative? We can't. What's happening at the Initiative that everybody wants to work there? Drew, what are your takeaways from this ridiculous amount of information regarding first party from Microsoft?
It's out again, Boom. You ready?
Go ahead, say it. I love it. That's great.
Let's start with a clap, and then I'm going to end with, what the hell are they working on at the Initiative? Oh, man, honest to God. You know what? Everything you just read out there, Boom, while I've already read it a few times, obviously, when I was compiling my notes, it was still a pleasure to listen to you say it out loud. And like, I bet everyone in the chat, if you didn't know this already, and you heard those numbers, God damn!
Yeah.
It's like, wow. It's like, it's music to my ears. I mean, we can talk about how many studios Xbox has. Does it have 10, 20, 30, 13, 5, 4? But the fact of the matter is, while they're still looking to acquire more studios, and they doubled their studio count just last year alone with all the acquisitions from E3 onwards. That's all amazing. That's all amazing said and done, all these studios. But the fact that they're actually going to the studios they already have, and they are just throwing bodies at them. At the end of the day, it's a given, Boom, that we're going into a next generation. Hardware, specs, games, that the whole industry is going to get bigger and better and more complex. So with that, you need more people working on these games, because these games are going to get bigger, better, more complex. Honestly, I see that number, 240 working at just Rare. Forget the rest for a second, just Rare. And one part of me wants to say, oh, that's probably, that's at least 3 different teams, maybe 3 different games. But it's you got to put your feet on the brakes just for a second and think, well, that might have been the case 10 years ago, but with games being as big and as complex as they are nowadays, and moving into the future generations with more, I wouldn't even be surprised if that 240 people consisted of one big squad of 200 working on the new IP, and then the other 40 are maintaining the servers and the updates and all that shit for say Sea of Thieves, obviously their recent title. My point being, these games that we're going to see from these developers listed, not to mention whoever they acquire in 2019, are going to be producing some very, very impressive shit. And the number of people working on these titles, as we've just listed and spoken about now, is just, it's not only mind-blowing, and for me, just absolutely unfathomable to an extent. If I didn't have the numbers in front of me, you wouldn't believe it when it's said out loud.
If someone just blurted this out without the proper backup, having the actual page in front of us, you might be like, I don't know, this guy sounds like he's kind of bullshitting a bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but like that is just the gaming industry today moving forward. Like this is incredible stuff and fills me with confidence that, and again, going back to our topics discussed about Game Pass, all these games that we can expect to slam into our Xbox Game Pass library day and date, boom, banger after banger, one every quarter, year in, year out, are going to be produced by these very special individuals that are racking up in the hundreds upon hundreds when it comes to bodies working directly for the first party network that is the camaraderie between the community, the network of first party developers over there at Xbox. It's just unprecedented. I've said it before. Like there's and you know for a fact as well that all those numbers, while obviously we've got it in categories like 140 for Ninja Theory, 70 aiming for 100 for Undead Labs, 240 at Rare, you know that they're all dipping into each other's pools anyway because they're helping each other out. And that's without considering In Exile, 343, Playground, the Coalition, and all the rest, and the Initiative. Who the hell are the Initiative? Like you know that an accumulation of all those numbers, they are all swapping notes, helping each other out because they want to see one another succeed.
Of course they do. Yes.
It's all in each other's interest for them all to succeed because the more they succeed, the more Game Pass succeeds, the more Xbox succeeds, then the more they succeed. It goes full circle. It's incredible. Like people are probably listening, going, "God, someone's been giving this kid Red Bull. He's too excitable." But like, it does get me excited. This kind of information, while it might just appear like numbers on a piece of paper to some, to me, it just shouts opportunity and very promising future for us as Xbox fans. And if people take it as anything less than that, then big ups to you. I respect that. But for me, that's all I see when I see those numbers, Boom.
Yeah, real quick, I have to do two massive shout outs. First of all, Philly Eagle with the outstanding $10 super chat. He says, here's a thought. The game hasn't released, and he's talking about Scalebound. Okay, why waste energy on anger for something that you can't play? Anticipation, immaturity, stupidity, I don't know. Too many other games to play for that nonsense. And you know what? He's absolutely correct. I mean, look, we had our time in the sun. Scalebound was coming out. They sunk millions of dollars of money, of big bucks into it. They lost that money. Platinum is going to, who knows what's going to happen to the game if they can even get it to work on the Switch. At this point, if you're an Xbox fan, forget about Scalebound. There is just so much stuff coming out first party that you're not even going to remember how to spell it by the time next year comes around. And Smitty Smith with the outstanding $10 super chat. Thank you so much. He said, afternoon, Boom and Welsh. I got to say, buckle up, folks, because Microsoft are not playing games going into the next generation. They're going to try and dominate the industry. And you know what? Well said, my friend, because yes, with everything they have on tap, with everything that Phil Spencer has been able to put together since becoming the head cheese, going into the next generation, I'm just saying you right now, be prepared to be wowed. Okay, when the Anaconda releases, whenever that is, because it's coming in 2020, and we know it's coming. We know the PS5 is coming in 2020, but what we don't know is what is Microsoft going to do to immediately blow out of the gate. And like I said, we've talked about it, Welsh. We think they're going to come out with 4 ginormous AAA monsters to release with with launch with the Anaconda. We know Halo is one of them. We know Forza Motorsport 8 is going to be the other one. The other 2 up in the air. But I think they're going to release with 4, and it would do them justice to do that, because then you explode out of the gate, and then Sony, we don't know what's going to happen with Sony. Right, we don't know what they're going to have. Are they going to do games that are cross generational? Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima. Maybe Kojima's game will get in 2031. I don't know. Because obviously he takes long for his games. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to say this: regardless of what flag you fly, it's going to be a great time to be a gamer. But more specifically, because this is an Xbox show and this is where we lay our heads at night. If you're an Xbox gamer now, when 2020 happens, folks, I'm going to tell you this: buckle up, because it's going to be one hell of a ride. But let's move on to the next topic. A game came out as an exclusive for the the PlayStation 4 called Neo. And I loved that game from start to finish. Now I didn't beat the last boss. It was insanely difficult. I put 90 hours into that game, if you can believe it. I played it. It's kind of like, people compare it to like a Souls game because it's punishing. But I played it more like an Onimusha game because Onimusha is one of my favorite Capcom franchises. And that's how I was able to get through some of the real difficult bosses. I mean, some of them were just like controller throwing. But why I'm bringing this up is because Neo is possibly coming to the Xbox One platform. And we get that in a tweet from Koei and Team Ninja, who responded to a fan's question regarding the PlayStation 4 exclusive. And this is what they had to say. Koei Temco's social media says fans have to show us you want Neo on Xbox One, and tweet at them, retweet it, favorite, write to them. The developers want to know. Now, look, here's the thing. You and I talked about this again. We've been doing the show for a while, and we report stuff. You and I also reported that Phil Spencer made 4 trips to Japan last year, okay?
Yep.
And he wasn't going there to get the sun. He was going there to make deals. Okay, he wasn't going there for the sake. He can have that ordered and brought right to Redmond. He was going there to be the proper businessman and gentleman he is, meet with the Japanese development community, which is amazing. Okay, there is so much untapped potential in the Japanese market that the PlayStation is very privy to. If you're a PlayStation only owner, you get all your JRPGs, you get your Personas, you get your Neos, and a host of other the one by Sega, Yakuza. The Yakuza series, listen, it may not be your bag, but if you're a Shenmue fan like I am, you're probably going to enjoy that game. And as a PlayStation owner, they are privy to all of these great games. Unfortunately, the Xbox, I don't know what happened, but we saw Nier Automata, right? That came out, sold very, very well on the Xbox platform. And I'm hoping that Neo does come out because Neo 2 is in development, and I think it's releasing this year. So if Neo comes out for the Xbox One, well, then you could pretty much guarantee that Neo 2 will be there. But I wanted to get your opinion on that, Welsh. I mean, first of all, is the Japanese market a good market for the Xbox One platform, and should the gamers be given a choice to buy these games?
Well, this takes me right back to what I was saying in a topic a few moments ago, like a few topics ago, about Phil Spencer being a man of his word. When he says something, he does it. And this is just another case. Like he said, like quite openly on Twitter, like a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago, like, I will do what I can, the best that I can, to get as much Japanese support back onto the Xbox as possible. Because last generation there was an influx of Japanese titles, and it kind of died its death by the current gen. I don't know what happened between there and now, but Phil has been hard at work, like you said, many a trip back and forth to the fine cities to try and get it back on track. And when it concerns these Japanese developers with these Japanese titles and their almost hesitant reluctancy to bring them over to the Xbox, because you look at the PlayStation's offerings in terms of exclusives with quotations, take away Sony Interactive Entertainment aside, their games like your Days Gone, God of War, and all that, we know those are the obvious ones. But the third-party Japanese handouts that are literally like freaking in the hundreds almost, those are literally games that like should really in fact be on the Xbox as well, but they just haven't been because of either brand loyalty or culture, or I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs. But what I'm getting at is, with the help of Phil Spencer going out of his way to show that the Xbox community want games like Neo and many, many more. Nier Automata is another one. I'm pretty sure that's on the Xbox now. I don't follow many Japanese games, but I know that more and more are coming time and time again. And it is literally a case of like, imagine like a really fat person, Boom. Like, I mean, like really fat, grotesquely fat, like Gluttony off this movie Seven, the one who ate spaghetti until he died. Imagine him. I'm going to call him Krabby McFatty. And he's lived above Burger King his whole life. Like, that's why he's so big. He doesn't realize that there are other fast food joints other than Burger King. He thinks Burger King is all there is. And then one day someone drives into McDonald's and KFC and Taco Bell and all these other places, and then all of a sudden he's got a taste for it, and he shares that he goes around, he tries different places. This is the case with these Japanese titles, these Japanese developers. I do think they are the equivalent of Fatty McFatty, where they have been stuck in a rut for so long, only producing, or should I say, putting their games onto the PlayStation system. And now Phil Spencer's opened up that avenue in a sense, driven these devs to other fast food joints and said, no, you can put your game onto this system as well. And I do honestly think like they'll be quite surprised at the reception. Maybe just a theory, Boom. All this time they thought that they wouldn't have any success.
Maybe. Yes, that's a great analogy, dude. Excellent.
But yeah, I just think maybe they thought, safe bet, we'll keep it on PlayStation. People, that's the system for the Japanese titles.
Well, they have almost 100 million systems sold. You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna look at that platform and you're gonna say, well, if we can put a game on there, we're probably gonna sell millions of copies. You know what? I hate to say this, folks. And I'm not shitting on the PS4. I have a PS4 Pro. I have the God of War Collector's Edition, and I love it. But these games that came to the PS4 as exclusives, they're not selling 10 million copies, folks. They're not doing God of War, Spider-Man, and Detroit Become Human numbers. Persona 5. First of all, I bought it. I bought not a surprise, but I bought the collector's edition, and it wasn't for me. I played it for about 4 hours, and after like the 100th train ride, I'm like, you know what? I tried it. It looked interesting. Joker's a fantastic character. The series is really weird, but I'm going to give it a shot. I gave it a shot. It just wasn't for me, and I sold it. I'm not sorry I bought it. All right, but it only sold like 3 million copies, and Persona 5 is revered as one of the best personas in the history of life, and it only sold 3 million copies. Neo. I freaking love that game, and I bought it once for the PS4. I still own it. I will buy it again on the Xbox One. It only sold like 2 million copies. So a lot of these Japanese titles aren't selling what you would think to 100 million customers. You know what I'm saying? They're really not. I like you. I agree with you 100%. I would like to see. Look, the Japanese market isn't for everyone. And I totally understand that. But again, I'm not a mathematician, folks. I'm not a businessman. I'm just a regular dude on a microphone right now. If I'm a company and I put out a game on the PlayStation and it only sells 2 million copies and they have 100 million, I have to say, well, it costs X dollars. We have to make some money back. What's the next biggest platform besides the PC? Well, if the Xbox has 45 million consoles, let me try and put it out on there. Even if they only sell 2 million copies, it's 2 million copies they didn't have to sell before. I mean, is that simple logic or what?
No, definitely. I mean, like by putting it on another platform, you just increase your chances of selling more copies, like straight away off the bat. Even if they only sell 3 million on PlayStation and 1 million on Xbox, that's 1 million more than you would have sold. So it makes, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. But in this case, it makes dollars, so it fucking makes sense. So, like, at the end of the day, like, for as long as I can remember, Xbox fans have been screaming for these titles. Like, I have friends
who
have. Are Xbox enthusiasts. They buy Xbox for its exclusives, but they bought themselves a PlayStation for Neo and Nier Automata.
Yes, they did. Games. Yes.
And whether they like them or not, I don't know. But all I do know is they went out and bought a PlayStation for that reason. They bought a whole system just for that reason. And these games have no loyalty to PlayStation other than the fact that they're Japanese. And like now, hopefully the tide is turning where they feel like that they can put their games on an American platform, because the people who own there are a fair amount of people on Xbox who love Japanese titles. I think people forget, like, they were very popular last gen. So
sure they were. Yes,
I think this is nothing but good news. I mean, I don't care personally. I could care less about Japanese games. I with the exception of like Monster Hunter World and the odd Resident Evil. I literally don't touch Japanese games. I just don't, especially JRPGs. To me, they look god awful. But that's my opinion. So the droves of people who on a daily I see on Twitter saying that they want it on, or people that I know want more Japanese games. For those people, I want this to happen. And not just Neo, I mean all of them. Like, there's no excuse for these third-party titles to just be limited to one system. It makes more business sense for them to do it, regardless of whether they what I think or what Bob down the road thinks. But like, it's a good idea.
Yeah, one of the things that people forget is that all of these Japanese games, like the Persona 5 and the Neos and plenty of others, those aren't exclusives where they're locked behind a paywall for Sony. They just happen to release it on the PS4, and that was it. So there's no binding contract that says, oh, well, listen, hold it off of the Xbox because we don't want to give their fans, Japanese games, or we want them to buy a PS4. It wasn't like that. They just released it on the PS4. So I like you. I do hope there is going to be some. I'd like to start seeing the Japanese games release day and date on both consoles. I don't want to say, hey, listen, Xbox, try and lock up Neo 2 so no one else on the PlayStation can play it. I would never say that. You keep your exclusives to your consoles and your PS5, your PS4 exclusive, your Xbox exclusives, but your second party games, I'd like to see everyone be able to play those. And I don't think that's wrong, but let's move on to the next topic. And we actually have quite a few, but the next two are big. And you have a lot to say about this. A couple of weeks ago, Digital Foundry put their foot in their mouth like they normally do. I don't even know why people sub them anymore, because they've made so many mistakes on big games that they have to reboot what they're saying and issue an apology. Well, here's some great news. Anthem comes out this Friday, and if you are an EA Access member, you have been able to play it since last Friday. I'm an EA Access member. Sadly enough, I have not started to play Anthem yet, not because the game sucks. It's one of my most anticipated games, and I cannot wait to get into it. But there's just too many games to play. So I had to put stuff in order. Well, according to a story that I pulled, Anthem has been confirmed by the developer to run at a native 4K. Okay, this was not the case when you heard what was happening with Digital Foundry. It has also been confirmed that it's going to run in 4K, native 4K, with HDR advancements and other very specific enhancements detailed by BioWare's head of technology, Scott Newman. Now, alongside the native 4K resolution on Microsoft's enhanced Xbox One console, Newman also provided further details about the specific Xbox One X enhancements, which includes increased resolution for shadow rendering and enhanced rendering for in-game terrain. And here is Scott Newman's direct quote. The Anthem team has been able to leverage the power of the Xbox One X to deliver enhanced graphics to our players. The added GPU power on this console allows Anthem to render at native 4K with HDR. To complement the increased image quality of 4K, we have also increased the resolution at which we render shadows in the game, and we have enhanced the rendering of in-game terrain. Newman adds that the Xbox One X also allows an increased number of meshes and textures. Finally, the added memory of the Xbox One X allows us to increase the number of meshes and textures we stream into the player's view at any given moment. Now, Drew, this is what I wanted to hear. I'm assuming that after the Digital Foundry side-by-side debacle comparison and analysis, BioWare must have received a ton of blowback from the Xbox community. And due to the marketing deal that Microsoft has with EA on this game, I'm wondering if a call came from Phil Spencer himself to address the issue. Because listen, I'm sorry, you're marketing the game on the Xbox One X. It's got to play better. I'm sorry. That's the end of the story. Power, comparing apples to oranges, it's more powerful than the Pro. The Pro version should not run better. End of story. But here's my question to you, Drew. What are your takes on the subject? And are you satisfied with the outcome of Anthem looking and playing better on the most powerful console ever?
I tell you what, Boom, I'm much like yourself. I've been really looking forward to to Anthem, but I haven't played it yet. Apex Legends keeps stealing my attention. It's a nightmare, even though I'm very much looking forward to Anthem. Make no mistake there, I can't wait for that. But this news here, Boom, like it's how do I word this now? Like it's great for me on a selfish and personal level, as obviously I'm an Xbox One X owner, and every time a game, especially a game like Anthem, but every time a game developer takes full advantage of the hardware, it literally just gives me that pump on the chest, that justification for my purchase. I'll be completely honest though. I wouldn't have been upset if BioWare decided not to utilize the power of the X. As long as I got to play Anthem, I would have been, I wouldn't have minded. It wouldn't have mattered to me. But, and this is a big but, the fact that they have gone all out, on one of my most anticipated games is obviously like, it's music to my ears. I haven't played the game since the weekend demo, and that looked amazing anyway. So the fact that, the fact that it's had significant, improvements, should we say, since then, I am very excited to dive in headfirst into the full game with all the enhancements. It's good news for One X owners, and this game is nothing short of stunning. So I think it's fantastic. I think the blowback, to an extent, is necessary. Like, if with marketing deals and stuff like that, it's a hard one to crack though, Boom, because like when you think about it, like Sony in the last year has had a lot of marketing deals. One that comes to mind, one game specifically of high note that PlayStation had the marketing for was like Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yep.
And as we've discussed with certain individuals in the media, like going out of their way and buying an Xbox One X for that game, for the reason being they regardless of marketing deals, they went all out on the Xbox platform. So it's one of those things, like I'm of a mind where my takes on this subject as a whole is the fact that like Phil Spencer was very clear when it came to the Xbox One X. He put it out there. He said it from day one. He said whether it be first party, second, third, indie, like he said it outright. We are not going to make it mandatory for developers to utilize the hardware. The hardware is there to be utilized if they wish, but if they want to, or they don't want to, or they can, or they can't, it's completely up to them. Which brings me to my point about Anthem looking and playing better. Like it's music to my ears. I'm glad to hear it, and it makes me happy because it's a game I can't wait to play, and I'm an Xbox One X owner, and it's gonna melt my eyes. But at the same time, I kind of hope that BioWare didn't have backlash left and right, over the Digital Foundry video, because I would rather developers out there wanting to utilize their games for the right reasons, not because they've been told to. Like it kind of set for me. I'm hoping that the one good thing to come from this whole situation, I hope it sets a precedent that like if you can develop if you're developing your game and you can utilize the power of the hardware, especially going into next gen with PS5 and an Xbox 2 or Anaconda or whatever, it's kind of inexcusable. Do you know what I mean, Boom?
Yes, I agree. I agree.
So, I hope they didn't get too much of a hard time from Xbox, fanatics or whatever. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad this happened in hindsight, because look what they've done with this game since the blowback, Boom. Like, yes, they've pushed it to its limits, and now it's hitting native resolution. And I just think like it's good to see to an extent. Like I want to, but at the same time, I kind of want EA to take themselves have a good look in the mirror. BioWare, I want them to have a good look in the mirror and just be like, why did it take a tidal wave of people shouting at us for us to actually pull our fingers out? Like, what, do you know what I mean? They should have done it from the off, was what I'm getting at. But I think it's brilliant. I can't wait. This game looks amazing. Awesome. I can't wait to delve into it.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to Anthem. I know we've already talked about you, me, and a few others teaming up. I think what I really enjoy about the game is it has a few things over Destiny, which I mean, I sunk like 1,500 hours between Destiny 1 and 2, so I know I'm going to put a significant amount of time into Anthem. But the fact that we can play 4 players is a big deal. The fact that you don't have to keep the same javelin, you can swap them out, to keep upgrading each one. Because maybe you like playing as all of them, maybe you like playing with just one. Like for me, right now it's the Colossus. But I may want to play as the Ranger class. I may want to play as the one with the Lightning Storm. That looks amazing. So I'm going to probably dibby with all of them. But I want to talk. We're going to kind of segue into this because you and I were talking pregame, and Microsoft's very outspoken Mike Ybarra has some choice words for some people on Twitter. And after reading them, I got to be honest with you, I agree with his statements. And this topic was suggested by community member J Mo Money of Twitter. He reached out to me on Twitter, and then he DM'd me with some of the information. And I did some more research before the show and added a few things. So big shout out to J Mo Money for suggesting this. And I'm going to say this. It's about damn time that someone at Microsoft calls these reviewers out for half-assed journalism. First, it was Crackdown being crucified by Xbox haters in the mainstream media, and now it appears that Anthem is being destroyed before it's even released. And what's worse is that several of the so-called Xbox fans are calling the Anthem marketing deal bad for business. Like, what the F, bro? I don't understand. So let me first read a statement from our very good friend, Microbox of X. He's a part of the Dragon X podcast. He also has his own show where he talks about films. I want to read what he had to say. It says, Mike Ybarra calls out what's a growing trend, a reviewer's complete lack of knowledge or understanding of the game they are reviewing. If they're not willing to invest the time needed to grasp a game and fully understand it, why the hell should we take the time to listen to them? And that in itself is worth a whole conversation. But I want to read some of Mike Ybarra's some of his tweets that people are at fake outrage, right? He was responding to several people that came at him pretty strong, I thought. And one person was complaining about some of the things you had to do in Anthem in order to get into this one particular cave. And it says, he responded, well, he says this was actually very easy to do. Amazed at the whining. One reviewer, not the one below, reviewed the game, yet in the review cited that he didn't even know how to do a combo. Embarrassing to review with such lack of knowledge. He follows that up with, someone asked him, well, what is your review on the game, Mike? And he responded, I don't do reviews because everyone enjoys different things. Hold on a sec. My thing got messed up. So first of all, let's go back to the first comment of Mike. First, are you offended by what he's saying? Or Drew, is he saying the truth? How could someone review a game and not fully understand what they're reviewing? This is how reviews get screwed up. And this is who people, and you got to remember, see, you and I, we're not getting paid. We're doing this, yes, of course, people donate, and that's awesome. I get a couple of bucks from the so-called advertising on YouTube, and they clobber you over the head with the amount of money they take. So, Boom is not getting rich. But I am going to say this. These reviewers, Drew, they're earning a paycheck from a company to do these reviews, and they're not even putting the time in. Are you offended by what Mike Ybarra had to say?
Right, I'm ready for this, Boom. I've been waiting all night for this. I hope everyone in the chat is ready for this as well. But I got a mouthful, Boom.
Go ahead. Well, this is a conversational podcast, so talk away.
I commend Mike Ybarra massively. I can only commend the man. I love a lot of the executives over there at Xbox. I'm a big fan of them all as individuals, but Mike Ybarra is one of them, mainly because he and it's not the first time he's done it. He says exactly what he thinks, and he don't pull any punches. Unfortunately, Boom, most media outlets, reviewers, and even YouTubers in general, big or small, fall prey to this. you know, and they will happily lose all integrity if it means getting those views or clicks. You know, bottom line,
Yeah.
Boom, like, you know, like, and Micro, I'm referencing him as well, like, big ups to him. What he said in that tweet was bang on the money, but people do jump on bandwagons. It's the popular thing. You
Yes.
know, they'll rush a video out, they'll rush an article out or a review. You know, they'll rush it out as fast as possible, absent quality, just because they want to be the first to say this, to say that, to bash this, to bash that, to review this. Like, they want to be the people who, oh, did you see what they said? Oh, and, you know, and speaking of bandwagons, and Boom, I wholeheartedly apologize for this. I am sorry to do this on your channel, on your podcast. And I'll be clear in saying to the chat, the audience, that Boom has no idea that I was even going to mention this individual, but I feel it's very necessary,
No,
as it
dude,
is
listen,
relevant.
you go right ahead. We talked about it, and you know what? You're a co-host. You understand? We are partners here. This is a 50-50 show. And if you have
Okay.
something to say, my friend, then you go ahead and you say it.
Okay, I appreciate that, dude. But okay, I'll go ahead and say it as an example of what I'm talking about here, with bandwagons and absent quality and people jumping on this trend of hating and throwing things under a bus just because it's the popular thing to do. As an example, MBG. I don't know if anyone's heard of him, but MBG is a channel that I have followed for years. He was a strictly Xbox channel, and he saw a lot of, you know, a lot of good success, decent success to say the least. But obviously, he got sick of seeing his sub count not getting any bigger. So all of a sudden, he's now making critical videos of Xbox and stroking off PlayStation 4 and its games just to get, you know, and in fairness, in doing so, his sub count has literally doubled
Yeah,
in
it has.
doing so.
Yeah.
Now, I bring this up, guys, because this is a smaller YouTube channel that I'm referring to compared to Digital Foundry or whatever, but it's the exact same principle. If anything, the reason I'm bringing up this guy in particular is because I was a fan of his work, not a fan anymore, clear to say. But if someone can be broken at such a lower level compared to these bigger guys, it's just like, it's crazy. The same principle is happening across the board. And the fact that it's a smaller channel closer to someone like myself or Boom, it's very relatable. But it's happening from smaller YouTubers all the way up to the big news outlets. A lot of people lose their integrity in the hunt for either views or clicks, and it is happening to the biggest YouTube channels and media outlets as well all the time. And you know, it's not about getting out an honest, well thought out review anymore, Boom. It's not about getting an honest, well thought out article or video. In case it's a case of jumping on trends regardless of originality and integrity.
Yes.
Now, you know, just to end my rant, I'm just glad that it's not just me or you or several other friends of mine pointing it out as we have been doing.
No, dude,
years.
if you're looking at the chat, dude, there are people calling for this guy's head. They're calling him a turncoat. They're telling him a sellout. He's a clickbaiter. I listen. I'm going to be honest with you. I was a big fan of the guy. I actually tried to get him on the show, and you know, to his credit, he did say no, but it wasn't because he was being a jerk. To be honest, he says, you know, he told me he was, you know, he does things on his own. He does, because I know other people that have asked him to be on the show because he was an Xbox dude, and it'd be great to hear his opinion. But the reason why he doesn't go on other people's shows because he does his own thing, and that's completely respectable. I respect him for that. I appreciate he even responded to me. But you know, his last couple of videos. Look, I'm going to be honest. I was a huge fan, and I'm not. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it publicly. I unsubbed him. I really did.
Oh, so
I recently unsubbed him because it just became, you know, look, the one thing you're going to get with Mr. Boomstick and this channel is you're going to get fairness, you're going to get honesty, and you're going to get a childlike excitement. That's never going to be lost. You know, when I talk about games, it's like Christmas morning for me every day of the week. Every day I do one of these shows, whether it's with Welch, whether it's with Salty, whether it's with the different hosts I have, come on for Breakfast with Boom, or any of the special edition shows I do, like we have one coming up on this Saturday. It's like Christmas morning for me. I'm never going to change. I'm never going to be disappointed. Sure, I'll be let down a little bit if something, for a company. But unfortunately, what he has done is he has completely did a 180 to his fan base. And I gotta be honest, I was a little taken aback when he went to town on Crackdown, and then he followed that up with "I'm done with Microsoft." The minute I finished the video, I didn't even hit the thumbs down because I don't do that. It's his opinion and he's entitled to it. I didn't hit the thumbs up button, but I didn't hit the thumbs down because, like I said, it's his words are his words. But I did unsub his channel. I like people that are real. I like people that are trustworthy, and I don't like clickbaiters. I don't like people who follow trends, and I don't like bandwagon jumpers. Listen, like something, and if it sucks, still like it. That's the code of a true fan.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Like, I'm just glad, Boom, that I'm not alone anymore. Like I'm banding together with people like yourself, like Salty, like Micro, and many people in the chat. I'm sure you're all like it too. But we have been pointing this shit out for years. Not just people like MBG who jump on bandwagons, but the big sites, the people who we're meant to be looking up to and getting our information from. Like for years, we have been branded as mindless Xbots, but now you're seeing the likes of Mikey Barra piping up, and for me, Boom, I just got to say, it's nice to see. Hopefully, more people will just open their eyes to this gross misconduct of today's gaming industry, because too many people are falling prey to it. I know I keep mentioning MBG, but he's just one of many examples, ranging from small YouTubers all the way up to the big dogs at Digital Foundry, IGN, and all other, and it's just crazy. Like, and it boils down to the simple question, Boom, which I'll throw back at you because I like to do it from time to time. If you know, and referencing Microbox of X's tweet, like, whether you are a small YouTuber making a video, your first ever video, whether it gets 2 views or 5 views or 205 views, or your Digital Foundry or IGN, Ryan McCaffrey, I don't care, or anything in between. Boom. How can these people review games and troll games and critique games and do all this stuff when they haven't got 2 shades of shit of a clue?
Yeah, no,
what
I agree.
That game is about. Like,
yeah,
it's like when IGN reviewed Gears and said, "Oh, the thing is, it loses at least 3.5 points for me because there's way too much A button."
Ridiculous.
It's like rewind the freaking clock a second. Has this prick ever played a Gears game? Like, I'm sorry. Like,
hey, Welsh, just from that alone.
Yeah,
just
you know what?
Alone,
welcome to the show, Don. Welsh, real quick, the Don sent me a DM and said, "Hey, listen, let me in." And of course, if the Don says let him in, you got to let him in and kiss the ring. So, yeah. Don, welcome to the show, dude.
No, I have a lot of respect for both of you guys. I just wanted to stop by and whatever you guys got left in your thing and just kind of chime in. But yeah,
I'll throw this question your way then, Don.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
How the hell, like when you got people at IGN saying, "Oh, Gears 4 is all right, but I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10 because it's got too much A button bashing," like things like this, like such a gross misconduct. And then you got today's games like Crackdown and Anthem getting raked over the coals by these big outlets and these smaller YouTubers because it's the trendy thing to do, and it's like, oh wow, like, Don, how are these people getting away with it? And how have they got away with it for so long? Like, what the fuck, man?
Well, I want to actually make my studio name have something to do with A-Bun, just to give a little bit of a jab to those guys. Maybe like A-Bun Entertainment.
I love it. That's great.
Something like that. Not quite enough in A-Bun or whatever. Maybe, like, here's the thing. There's a term called I want a pitcher, not a belly itcher, right? And that's kind of how I feel about where journalism is right now. There's some people that will defend it. It's almost like a gospel to them, right? To challenge it is to challenge their personal belief system. But the reality, these are people giving opinions. They're not even doing journalism anymore. They're just giving opinions. And a lot of times they're not even valid opinions. A lot of times they're not based on facts. They're based on, I have an opinion first, and then how can I rationalize my opinion? I'm like, that's not very, I think, helpful as far as the industry is concerned. You're not doing a net positive for the industry. Journalists used to be the type of people that help consumers and users, you guys, to be able to figure out what products you want to buy with your hard-earned dollars. They were doing a service. They're not doing that service anymore. They're trying to justify their own opinion, and it's really, really sad when it comes right down to it. But I was thinking about this, and I'm actually putting together a video today, and just happened to see you guys doing your thing, and I got distracted. Realistically, we're on the verge of not having maybe 15 reviewers or 20 reviewers. We're on the verge in the industry to have millions of reviewers.
Yes. Yep.
That's got to be scary for those guys. We talk about billion gamers. Yeah, that's a quantum shift in the industry. You know what's even more of a quantum shift? Millions of reviewers, millions of people having a voice, people having to compete for respect in regards to that. Sometimes it's not about the reviewership at the bottom of your YouTube channel. Sometimes it's about actually addressing a real point and be able to reach an actual audience and having the respect of that audience. And what I feel is with all this, competition will breed realistically better reviewers out of the whole fallout of all this. And that's my hope. And as a developer, I have to take it on the chin every time a reviewer says something. Got to be prepared for millions of reviews. You're a reviewer, well, the end user got an opinion of you.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to take it on the chin, because you're talking about a billion people looking at you and criticizing you. You got to step up your game. Everyone's got to step up their game. It's much, much higher risk than I think it's ever been before. And I think what you're seeing is people trying to defend their position. So they're, because they're on the ropes. I mean, if it really boils down to it, it's going to get worse.
That's a really great point, Don. I kind of want to just real quick before I get to my point, I have to say a big thank you to Scrub Nurse, who's a huge supporter of the channel. They dropped a $5 super chat, and they said the several YouTube channels that make money and fame off hate. Every game doesn't suck or was killed off. It's all about clickbait and views, and it's a shame. Now, Don, I'm really glad that you popped in, and I happened to see you pop in the chat and say let me in, because that was great. I love having you on the show. And this question is really to both Welsh and the Don. Places like IGN, places like GameSpot, places like Kotaku. Now, I'm not saying I've seen people in the circles defend them, but I've also seen that there's no media bias, and I say that that's incorrect. My opinion is that there is no one sitting in a corner looking to ruin Microsoft. No, that I honestly believe. But I am going to say this, Don. You touched on something important. The lights on being kept on in these reviewing places is starting to dim a little bit. Why? Because YouTube has exploded on the scene, and people like us come out here. We do these shows and we give you your opinion. Like I said, IGN. I used to be a subscriber. I used to pay the $30 a year to keep the lights on. Right, I used to, be a Patreon subscriber to Giant Bomb and to Greg Miller and his partner, who they left IGN, and then I realized that there was a whole entire world of people with other opinions that wasn't the mainstream media. And listen, here's my question. Are they doing these negative stories to simply generate traffic into their sites?
Yes.
I 100% believe it too, to be honest with you.
It's literally like it's like these it's like, you know, those like blue lamps that you put on the porch in one of those like outhouses, and it attracts all the flies to it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they're gonna die. You know, it can't be any fun for them, but they go to it anyway. That's pretty much the same shit. IGN is that stupid blue lamp, and I'm the fly. It always gets me going there, and I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I've done it a few times. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm still subbed to the YouTube channel, which I need to stop. But it is true. Like no, there's just no quality anymore. There's no integrity. Like I said quite, a moment ago. Like it is literally a trend of bandwagon jumping, trying to get those clicks and those views. And you said something a second ago, Boom, regarding like the hope resides in like YouTubers like myself and yourself and the Don and people like us talking and giving our raw, honest opinions. And I do agree with you, but the only problem is, when you've got people like MBG who are in the same shoes, who are jumping on said bandwagons and trends and taking all the clicks and the shit like that because it's clickbait, it kind of like decimates what YouTube was for. Like, it's in the name, YouTube. Like, you got to be you got to be original, you got to give your 100% raw opinion or well thought out discussion. Like Don, as a developer, like, I can imagine that if someone reviewed your game and gave it a 2 out of 10, but they gave you just like literally like very detailed reasons for why, in their opinion, for their review, they didn't like your game for whatever reason, I think you would appreciate that a lot more than just everyone jumping on this trend. Like, oh, should we just hate on the Don's game? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I want valid opinions, right?
Yeah.
And valid opinions are based upon factual things that are occurring. And, once you have that, I think it's a good starting point for conversation, right? When you have, we can have several different valid opinions about a game. We can all lay it down here on the podcast with everyone here, right? And we can come to different conclusions. But as long as we're basing our views off factual things that are actually happening, we can actually have respect for one another's opinions and views. That's essential. I think that needs to happen. I'm building a studio. Like, I'm going through like company culture, what we're about, all these other things before I start bringing people in. And one of the things I got to write is code of, I don't know if other companies have this. Matter of fact, all the companies I've worked with, if they have it, I'm not aware of this. Because of the landscape, because of the change that I see happening in the next 2 or 3 years when hopefully my product ships, I'm realistically have to come up with a code of conduct. And I'm going to have to set a standard of people that I'm not going to go, interview with. I'm not going to provide them with information. They're not going to be provided with codes. But I also got to have something that's fair as well. I also have to have something that, like a road to redemption, right? Like, people are going to screw up. So you got to have a means for people to be able to realize that I screwed up, I can do better. And I think that's important. I think all that stuff kind of helps the industry as a whole. But yeah, I got to take it on the chin. Regardless, if they have some valid points, I do want to hear those. And I can't be defensive about it. It kind of sucks. All I can really do is try to bring understanding to stuff, and it's really about it.
Yeah, look, again, I hate to say you pick your poison, but if you feel a particular review, a reviewer house, an IGN, a media house, if you will, is not going to judge a game fairly, then why even allow them to play the game? Because you're going to get clobbered, which is not right. Look, listen, again, I say this all the time. Not every game is for every gamer, and not every game that is developed is going to be the AAA monster. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, the one thing that annoys me about these reviewers, and I think the reason why they are the way they are is because they are so privy. They have to all of the information that we're not. Like they meet the developers. They get firsthand demos of the games. They play the game months and months, sometimes years before it's released. And I think in getting all of that, having the ability to have access to so much information, they become unappreciative, if you will, to what is being shown to them. And I don't know what happens. Like for instance, I've never been to E3, right? But I've been to the one in Boston, and it was fantastic. And I was like Disneyland for me. I'm kind of wondering, Don and Welsh, with them being able to, have so much availability to these everything pretty much, do they become numb somehow?
I think they treat it as a job. That's the problem. The passion's not there. That's
yes, exactly.
It's part of the issue. Like, and I think here's the thing: you can't bullshit a customer. You can't. Right. Eventually, a customer is going to get upset. We're at this other weird. When everyone got all pissed off at Microsoft when they released their title and they're worried about DRM. Right. It was a sensitive subject. Right. At the time, that was a bullying point that just happened to be all focused on Microsoft at that point. They became the victim in that scenario. And, I'm not reading the tea leaves correctly. You've seen it with EA, right? Where they kind of push the whole microtransaction thing. There's a particular set of customers who are not happy with it. Even though microtransactions and loot boxes are the biggest selling games, period. Like in the top 10, like majority of them all have those features. So you have that. I think the next blow up we're going to see is people are just fed up with the media, and they don't see it coming, and that's the thing that's really, really concerning that I see going on. They treat it like a job, and I have a job, but I'm very grateful for what I do. And I think a lot of people, if they're passionate about what they do, it shows. It's part of their accountant. It's everything they do. I just don't see that with this. I think when people ask questions, say, "Hey, why didn't you know about this?" Well, usually their answer is, "Well, that's not my job." Well, you should be as informed as possible if you're in that particular field, right? And I think what Mikey did, he said, is like, man, this is embarrassing for the industry.
Yes, it is.
And it really is. It really is. You're representing the industry, right? I mean, I hate to call it this, but you're a little bit more low-hanging fruit. You don't quite have the talent to produce the product. Maybe you do. You just haven't exercised that talent in any sort of way or got that chance. But a lot of those people don't have that.
Well, yeah, sure, John. It's real easy to judge a game and not know what goes into making the game. Real easy to do that.
Yeah, well, like take Gordon Ramsay, right? The guy's an ass, right?
Yeah, he is.
but he's a likable ass because he's good at what he does, right? He can cook. He can go in there and kick ass, right? Mm-hmm. So, ultimately, that's the type of critic you want. Now, most likely, that's never going to happen because if you're really good at developing games, you're going to be doing that and not being a journalist, right? But that's where it becomes difficult. There's a disconnect there, and there's disconnect there with the customers. It's what's going on. It's just really strange. It's really weird, and the things need to be talked about, right? I think we're all seeing it, and I think some people are defending it, and they got a harsh reality. Things are going to change on them. I mean, they haven't earned the spot or the credibility that they keep pushing for. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Real quick, I have to say a big shout out to Bear999com, who dropped in an awesome $5 super chat. And he says, sitting in the car dealer, getting work done, and listening to another great show. Keep killing it, Boom. Thank you so much. But, Welsh, I want to get your opinion on this because, Mike Ybarra, he is I like to consider him the bad boy of Microsoft. He does not have no problem dropping the ban hammer down on people, which he did, and he actually did it respectfully. But you know what? One of the quotes that I got that got cut off, I have to read. It says, "I don't do reviews because everyone enjoys different things. I'd suggest modern reviews. Should be watching streamers play a game, doing the demo, listening to what your game friends think, and if it seems like something you'll enjoy, then great. And then he follows it by saying, definitely you should read reviews from your favorite site / journalists as input. Many things to look at to help determine if you're going to like or dislike a particular game. I reference many of them all the time for my own decision making. The more, the better. Again, people are ostracizing this dude, but I thought he came off, because he's come off nasty at times, and he seemed like he was a proper gentleman. Why are people freaking out?
Oh well, I've said already that Mike Ibarra is a stand-up guy.
Yeah, he is.
And he don't pull his punches. He says what he's thinking, and at bottom line, like, people can hate him for it, but he's pointed out the obvious. Like, he has literally just pointed out the obvious, that it is embarrassing. Like, you shouldn't be doing any task, whether you're a carpenter or a game developer, or you
make a pizza. If you
make pizza, or I don't know, maybe you cut and style bloody puppies and kittens' fur. I don't fucking know. But whatever you do, like, you've got to have a level of competency. You've got to have a level of you've got to be able to show your credentials. This is what I do. This is why I do it. This is why I'm the man for the job. But it just seems nowadays, like, especially with the gaming media and reviewers, like, it just seems like they're picking up anybody off the street and just being like, oh, fancy reviewing this game, and it's just bad. It's bad news for the industry, because you've got big developers, especially like from a perspective of like Mike Ibarra. You've got these new development houses working for Microsoft now. These new acquisitions, they're going to be building and making the next generation of games for the next generation hardware. And it's one of those things, like, I bet Mike Ibarra was thinking moments before putting out those tweets, like, do you know what? No, I'm going to defend this. I'm going to point this out, because I got friends who are like working on these new games, and like, it's almost like a lost cause. Like, I bet he's thinking, like, all these hours and months and years they're putting into these games, only for them to be met with bad reviews because of some bandwagon trend. Like, at the moment, this generation, it's, Xbox is lame. Everything Xbox does is lame. Let's say Xbox is lame. So, like, Crackdown gets an absolute leathering, and a week later, people are like, oh, do you know what? It's actually quite a good game, and it's because they've played it for themselves.
Yes, yeah.
And I don't know what's more embarrassing though. Like, and not taking anything away from Mike, he pointed out the obvious. Like, reviews are good. Reviews are good for a way to get an idea of a game, but you should just take it with a pinch of salt. Like, watch a live stream or borrow the game off a friend. More developers need to release demos. I've said this for years. Like, I know we see a lot of demos. It does happen, but it doesn't happen
enough, though. I agree with you.
Like, every single game should have at least like a 2-hour trial or a 5-hour trial or a demo with a section of the game, or just like, let people make their own choice. But this is what annoys me. What's more embarrassing? The fact that what Mike Ibarra is pointing out, the incompetence and the bandwagon jumping and whatever, like these botch reviews, or the drones and the sheep and the masses of sheep that follow these moronic, fucking stupid reviews as Bible. Like, I don't know which is worse. Like, people that can't think for themselves, or the people that feed the fucking people who can't feed for themselves. Oh, God, honest to God, I pass the buck now. Someone take this away. I honestly, it's such a crazy topic, man.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that tweet, because I actually responded to Mike's tweet on that one, and this is what I've said, and I've been talking about it this last week because I've been talking to some people that really feel that game reviewers are the final word on things, and maybe not the end user is the final word, which I 100% disagree with. But and this is what I said. Mike's definition of the modern reviewer is the same definition I have to consumers direct. It's a great approach for game developers to find the right audience for their products. It allows new talent to float to the top, and it gives everyone a fair chance to give an opinion. That is the future.
Yeah. Well said.
That is 100% the future. And I was thinking about more and more of this. Like every time, we're seeing the effects of Twitch. We're seeing the effects of Mixer.
Mm-hmm.
When people are excited about a game or they have a following. That's huge. I've seen it with the small people that watch me on Mixer. When I bought Crackdown, I bought it. I paid $60. I don't regret my $60.
You and I had a blast. Did we streamed for 70 minutes, dude?
Yeah. And every time I would stream that game, people will pop in the chat, say hello. They're excited. Man, this game actually looks great.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what happened? I got, I think, 20 messages in my inbox saying, thanks for streaming that game. I bought it. Not Game Passed it. I bought it.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome.
It said it was one of the best purchases this year so far. Obviously, it's early, but that's what it's about. It's about reaching the right audience. I get Crackdown's not going to be for everybody, but is it a competent game? Is it a broken game? It's got some flaws, but it's not broken.
No, not at all. It certainly does not deserve a 5.9 on Metacritic. I'm sorry.
It's a Crackdown game, for God's sake. It's delivered on what it was meant to be. Like, this is what I don't get.
It's like the Expendables, right? Do you want a deep story that makes you rethink how you judge people when you watch the Expendables, or you just want to see shit get blown up?
Exactly.
Right? Like that's what Crackdown is. It literally is Michael Bay of gaming, and we need that occasionally. We also need games that have more in-depth stories, like a Hellblade, right? Which is kind of the opposite, right? So less combat, more story.
Story heavy. Has a strong topic that it's covering within its story, within its game.
Yeah, and that's fine. I think if that's what creators are inspired to do, they should do that, and they should find an audience for that. I think that's great entertainment for certain gamers out there, and I'm included in one of those. But as somebody that appreciated Hellblade, I also appreciate Crackdown, which is on the exact opposite of the scale of things.
Yeah.
I don't like turn-based RPGs. I haven't found one I liked, to be honest with you. I think Chrono Trigger was the last one I enjoyed, and I haven't enjoyed one since. But does that mean that genre should die?
No, of course not.
No, there's a whole entire audience for that. Matter of fact, I want those games to continue to be made. I want people that are interested in that sort of game to be able to reach those people, and maybe some people that may not originally were interested in a product like that, be able to maybe find a new genre that they may enjoy down the road. And that's what I've seen with Crackdown. I've seen people that I'm not a Crackdown fan, and they're like, kind of am now. Can't wait till the next one, if there is one, right? That's what gaming's about. We should be able to explore new ideas as creators. We shouldn't be compared to things that the product is not trying to be. If that makes any sense?
No, it makes perfect sense.
And the product should always be judged on what they're trying to accomplish. And if they actually accomplish what they're trying to, if they actually do what they're trying to accomplish, then they should get a high review score. That's the way I kind of look at it. And that's, it's unfortunate. I don't think that actually happens in the industry. And, I think it's going to change. I think there's a bright future, but it has to be people like yourself, people on this podcast right now, people that are listening, that set a good example. They're not worried about the short-term gains. They're worried about the long-term. Their
absolutely.
integrity.
Yes, absolutely.
How people view them, that sort of thing, because that's important.
Well, I got to say this. You want to add anything else before we get on out of here, Welsh? Because I know we are on. We normally this is a 90-minute show, but with the Don, we had to extend it, and with no doubt about that. This has been great. Welsh, would you like to close out with anything regarding these ridiculous reviewers that don't even? It's funny because I don't want to beat this the subject to death, but I was a police officer in my prior career, right? Some of these reviewers cannot play games. So just imagine the job I used to do was a police officer, but what if I tried to fix your car, right? I know nothing about mechanics, and I'm putting the engine in the trunk instead of putting it in the front. That's what some of these reviewers are. You have people that went to journalism school, and just because they have a degree, they apply for, they're trying to get work anywhere, and they're reviewing games, and they're not even gamers. That in itself is a big problem. You're starting to see that. Look. Let me just say this. I'll end it with this, and I'll get Wilsh's opinion. I'm gonna completely point out IGN. There is a reason, folks, why all of their talent have left that building. End of story. There's something going on over there. All of their major talent has left. The only one, if you want to consider them talent, is Ryan McCaffrey, right? You have Dustin Legary. You have Brian something or other. I forgot his name. Shame on me. There's like 3 people left there that have any clout or any status quo within the industry. There's a reason for that, and they're doing anything in their power to keep the lights on with clickbait stories. Welsh, take it away. My rant's over.
Oh, mate, it's hard to top what the Don have said and what you just said, but all I'll say just to end my rant, because I had a rant earlier, but just before Don turned up. Pleasure having you, Don. Thanks for coming, dude. But all I can say is, like, today's gaming journalism, and this, like I've said in my rant, this ranges from smaller YouTubers like your MB Prick G's all the way up to your IGNs and Digital Pony, whatever. It don't matter whether we're talking about Crackdown or a PlayStation game, or it don't matter. What I'm getting at is today's gaming media, gaming journalism. I heed my warning, everyone in the chat, everyone in the audience. I'm not saying listen to me. I'm not saying listen to Boom. I'm just saying tread carefully on who you listen to, because today's gaming journalism, like I mentioned earlier, ranging from smaller YouTubers to the bigger outlets, it's a minefield. Any step you take could be your last. You don't know if your information's good. You don't know if your information's bad. Like they have literally, for the most part, I'd say, in a lot of cases, substituted quality, competency, and credentials for whatever the trend is, and being the first one to pump out the article or the video or the review. And most of the time, it lacks any kind of integrity or quality. Like I said, it is just a case of like we just talked about Crackdown. Crackdown is an Xbox exclusive. It's been highly anticipated. People have been waiting for it for years. It's had its ups and downs all the way through its development. That game, me and Boom called it for weeks, for months, and I know we weren't alone. There's people who've been saying it for ages. That game was going to get crucified, and the first week of its release, that's exactly what happened. People left and right, from your MBGs to your IGNs to your Digital Foundries, God knows who else, everything in between, has had their piece on why this game is the second coming of Lucifer. And we knew it was going to happen, and it has happened, and that is testament on today's gaming media. That's all I can say. It is just a bandwagon race.
Well, listen, this has been one hell of an episode. What a way to close it out. First of all, I have to thank the ridiculous amount of super chats I received today. You guys don't understand. It's, I don't do this for money, but your generosity is just unrivaled. I don't even know what to say in regards to how thankful I am that you trust me enough to have three live shows weekly, and that you donate to the channel. It is just, it's unbelievable. That's number one. Number two, I have to thank the chat. You guys, we had almost 150 people watching today. It's amazing. Like I said, I'll finish the show, and I'll go in, I'll touch up the show notes and a few things, and I look at the count, and it still blows my mind that anyone turns out to listen. So I'm always thankful for that. But more importantly, I want to say thank you for treating each other with respect. I've been told this numerous times by several people, and I've said it numerous times, that my chat is one of the most friendly chats out there, and I strive for that. If there are dicks in the chat, I will get rid of them, because no, I'm serious. Like I will.
Funny way to say it, though.
I mean, I'm not trying to be insulting, but maybe it's the police officer in me. I don't like bullying. I will defend people that can't defend themselves. It's cut into my DNA, but the chat is important to me. You guys come here every week to listen, to have fun, to talk games, to give your opinion, and I appreciate that. So I'm going to defend you from the assholes of the internet. Of course, I could not do this show without the Welsh Gamer. Welsh, listen, we're over 2 hours. This is probably one of the best episodes we've done in a very long time. And your opinions were completely spot on. I wouldn't change one of them. I think you spoke. And again, I'm glad you brought up what you wanted to bring up. I know you were a little weary about it, but you know what? This is a show that we do 50-50. So if you have something, you want to say, you go out and you say it, and it's just going to be what it's going to be. So do me a favor, bro. Tell everyone where they can follow you. And you know what? The resurgence of your channel has been nothing short of breathtaking. I love what you're doing with your videos. You came like a lion busting out of the gate. Tell everyone where they could follow you on YouTube, dude.
No, I appreciate that, Boom. Like your topics today were fantastic. I couldn't wait to get my piece out. Well, not literally, but my piece. God, that came out wrong. But I couldn't wait to get my opinion out, and I'm glad I got everything off my chest. That's for damn sure. But no, massive show. Thanks for joining us, Don. Everyone in the chat, hit that like button if you enjoyed the show. A lot of love for you guys. I say it every week. But as for my channel, I have started making videos again. The only reason I haven't made a video in recent days is because I had a comment on one of my recent videos, and it was a guy saying, loving your stuff, but you need to improve your mic, because at that point in time I wasn't using a mic. So I've actually ordered a new mic, which I'm gonna with a longer lead, so I can actually have it next to me when I'm talking. So nice. When that comes, I'm gonna be back on it once again. Like I've got so many ideas, and once again, I'm gonna say it last time, hopefully. Hit me up on Twitter at @TheWelshGamer93 and DM me if you want me to talk about a specific topic. Anything, I'll talk about it. I don't pull my punches. I'm a very opinionated cat. I enjoy myself, and yeah, the Welsh Gamer. I've enjoyed myself. See you again next week. Boom. Great show.
Yeah, great show. And of course, the Don, dude, great that you reached out to me. I normally, you know what it is, trying to read the teleprompter, read the chat. Sometimes I don't catch it on, I don't go to Twitter. I have literally in front of me right now, I have 3 screens open, and I'm really just getting the hang of being able to multitask like this. So I'm glad that you end up in the chat. And dude, thanks for coming on, man. This was great. Listen, dude, let me tell you something. I've podcasted with hundreds of people, but I truly feel honored that you're on the show, and I respect your opinion wholeheartedly. Not because you're just a gamer. More importantly, you're a developer, and you give us a real unique inside look and opinion on both sides of the fence, and you don't find it anywhere else. So thanks for coming, dude.
Yeah, I wish more developers would do that. I mean, I think this is the future, to be honest with you, relating to the customer, like on a one-on-one basis. I mean, that needs to be done. I think there's too much of a gap in the industry, and that's part of the problem. I mean, I would say as developers, we're part of the problem too. So hopefully this helps offset that a little bit. Thanks for having me on. It was partially my fault too for not putting your full name in the chat. I just typed Boom, so it didn't highlight it for you. I realized I'm like, I did that.
No. Listen, dude, I saw it. It was literally when I checked it was 5 minutes ago, so it wasn't that big of a gap. It would have been like 2 hours ago. And I'm like, oh man, I feel really bad. But listen,
you don't have to feel bad. I know you guys are doing a show together, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter, the Don_KTR. My gamer tag's pretty much the same thing with no underscore, just a space. And I may do something today. You may not. Keep an eye out.
Yes, well, we'll be looking now at both your channels for future content, and I just want to say once again, thank you for the chat. Thank you to my 2 panel members, and listen, this Saturday, Don, I don't know if you're going to be available, but you can always jump on. We're doing. It's a small show. It's going to be about 60 minutes. Maybe it runs into an hour and a half. No big intros for anybody. It's just going to be a Crackdown 3 review and discussion. But if you're coming to the show to look for us, where we're going to shit on the game, this may not be the show for you. Everyone that I've invited have some real positive things to say about Crackdown, and I thought it was necessary to do it because I love the game from start to finish. I'm still playing it again. I've opened up a second world so I can level up my character to outstanding levels, and I'm just loving that game. So if you enjoyed Crackdown 3 and you want to hear a show dedicated to the game that's going to be complete positivity instead of all the negative shit that's been thrown at it since it launched last Friday. Tune in this Saturday on my channel at 1 p.m. The Welsh Gamer is going to be on there, and I'm going to make an announcement of who else is going to come to the show. But listen, this has been an incredible Xbox Factor podcast, and we will see you next week on the newest episode. Thanks again, and enjoy gaming, and just, you know what, be nice to one another. Take it easy.